You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast following a 3-1 win for the Ottawa Senators. And if you dabble at betonline.net, you'll love the puck line at the end. Pilsy, how do you think? Oh, I should introduce us first. Geez, I'm fired up. I want to get right into it. I'm Ross Levitan. With me as always, Brandon Pillar and recurring guest on the Postcast, Lalim's Martian. Pilsy, do you like my description of tonight's game? Perfectly boring?
Perfectly boring, absolutely. And anytime you can hold a team 21 minutes without a shot, I mean, that's textbook, that's taking them to school right there. Like, that was when you have so many injured players, so much offensive firepower out of your lineup. The best way to win is just don't give the other team any opportunities to score. And the Sens just squeezed out the Sabres there and were able to come away with a 3-1 win. A great third period is ultimately what ended this game.
Making Guy Boucher proud there with that
Yes.
defensive effort.
Absolutely.
22 minutes, and the one they finally get, that would have gone over a soccer net, I think. Jeez.
Yeah, muffin.
Well, the story all day was Craig Anderson, so let's start there, and then we'll dissect what was a solid overall performance, although, man, the PK got a workout in this one. But Craig Anderson, Pilsy, your thoughts on his game tonight?
Classic Craig Anderson, right? Like, he made a couple clutch saves. Any wraparound attempt was a grade A scoring chance for the Sens, like that Connor Brown chance there. Like, holy moly, Craig was way out on that one. Classic stand-up goalie style. He made a couple good saves. And
yeah, good kick save, hey, in the third period.
And you know what I always respected Andy for? He was great with breakaways. Like, for me on the breakaway, tries to go 5-hole. Smart move, check the game notes, stand-up goalie, try to go 5-hole, but Andy's having none of that.
Yeah, agreed. Marshall, what'd you think of his play?
Well, you always know Craig Anderson's not always the greatest puck handler, too. So you get him out of his net a little bit and get him moving around. That's where you can take advantage of him. So I think, the Sens got enough to win, so that's good enough for me.
Didn't score first in this one. It was Kyle Okposo on the power play 13 minutes into this game, and that was their only power play goal, and thank God. Otherwise, it could have been as bad as a 6-goal effort for Buffalo if they'd gone 100%. But you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of time with the Sens in the box, including 3 minor penalties for Erik Brannstrom at the midway point of this game. We'll get into his game later, but overall, that PK managed to turn momentum into the Senators' favor on multiple occasions, Martian.
Yeah, luckily, with all the injuries the Sens have, their penalty kill is pretty much entirely intact, I'd say. So luckily for them, they have a full personnel, and those guys got put to work tonight. Yeah, definitely some key kills. The Brannstrom penalties, all the Sabres had to do was score on every time Brannstrom was in the box, and they would have ended up winning, I guess, because the empty netter probably would have never happened. So pretty crazy that they spent so much time in the box, especially early on, but they were able to withstand the storm and kind of snooze their way through the first half of the game, and then they woke up a little bit, so they got it done.
Yeah, and how about the penalty killing, again, from Nick Holden? Everyone in the chat right now giving some serious stick taps to him. And I thought this was one of Zaitsev's better games as well. Those two killed almost 5.5 minutes together, mostly on the PK. What'd you guys think about DJ switching up the D pairs before this one? It wasn't Holden Zaitsev at even strength, but they moved Brannstrom up with Zub to start the game. And even after a few penalties, they still had him out on his usual shifts.
Yeah, I definitely didn't mind them switching up the D pairings there in that case, because they can't rely so heavily on just that one pairing having Holden and Zub together. So I think that the idea was kind of just to stabilize those two pairs by splitting those guys up, Holden and Zub. And, I think the idea was also to kind of let Erik Brannstrom take over as that Shabbat type role, that offensive puck moving defenseman. And, I think the idea was to give him that extra freedom. And I think he took advantage of it a little bit too much, maybe with those liberties that he was taking out there. So, maybe you want him to rein it back a little bit, but I think the idea kind of worked in a sense, because I think Zaitsev, like you said, yeah, he had a pretty good game. That hit,
big hits,
yeah, that he had one especially. I can't remember
exactly. Tage Thompson.
Oh yeah, Tage Thompson.
Big kid.
Yeah, he smoked them.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. So after Okposo's goal opened the scoring in this one, and that was the score at the end of the first period, the Senators, not the best team when the opponent scores first, only
Nope.
4 wins coming into this game in 26 attempts. So it's their 5th win in 27 games when they allow the first goal. And that record, pretty similar when they're trailing after the first, only 1 win in 14 games coming into this one. So they flip the script in the second period. They get on the board, and it's Zach Sanford. Great goal, better assist for Tyler Ennis. 14 assists for Ennis on the year. Artem Zub with the other one, 9 assists for him. That was with just under 4 minutes left in the second period. And then in the third, the Senators pull ahead with Austin Watson's 3rd of the year. Great deflection off a Nick Holden point shot. Holden with his first of 2 assists on the night. He now has 7 on the season, and Dylan Gambrell got the puck back to Holden for the eventual game-winning goal midway through the third period. That was during a stretch, as we mentioned off the top, of 22 straight minutes where the Buffalo Sabres did not record a shot. You had the Bronx cheer, ironic enough, in New York State. Then that's not going in 100 times out of 100. So even still, they had a good chance with the goalie pulled towards the end of the game, and Brady takes the, what do you call that? The putter out from when you're at the fringe right before the green.
Yeah.
And he just hit it all the way up and found home. So puck line hit. That was great. The Senators underdogs tonight, plus 110 on the money line. So cha-ching at Bet
I got him at
Online.
115, Ross.
Ooh,
Nice.
there you go. No. So you must have gone to betonline.net. Almost said .ag. Although it'll bring you right there. It's just like Built Bar takes you to built.com. Okay, nice shout out for the sponsors there.
Yeah,
on
good
a
shout
win for the Ottawa Senators. So Pilsy, without further ado, let's get to our Sens Central standouts tonight. I mean, lots to choose from, more than usual. Martian, let's go with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna take Austin Watson. He just,
Okay.
I think, with the start that the Sens had in the game, and they were off to a bit of a sleepy start. I'm gonna give Austin Watson some credit for bringing the guys back to life with his physical play. He was throwing the body around, although he only really kind of got credit for 1 hit, which I thought was low. He had the fight, obviously, and then a big goal as well, the game winner. So Austin Watson is an easy pick for me. All over the score sheet, guys. He had a goal. He had the shot on goal that led to the goal, 5 penalty minutes, a hit. Like he was all over the place. So love to see that from him. And I think it was his first goal in 19 games as well. So it's nice to see from him.
1 goal in 1 game since his suspension. Pilsy, did you like that he had to fight after that hit? It was barely anything.
Yeah, I think it was the Sabres are more upset that it was kind of a cheeky blindside hit. I forget who the player was, but he wasn't really ready for it.
More of a shove than a hit.
Yeah, that's fair. Like it really wasn't much there. I think that was the Sabres too, trying to bring some energy in. And it's funny, Fitzgerald was trying to shove Watson to go for it, and Hayden's like, no, like that's not your assignment. Like I'm going to come here and swoop that from you. And probably a good thing he did. Although Watson, maybe not the best record for wins in fights, but he shows up. That's what you got to respect.
It's not how many you win; it's how many you show up for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the willingness. You got to love a guy who's willing to do it, right? That's what they say. So,
yeah.
So Austin Watson is the first Sens Central standout. Pilsy, who's yours?
Well, I got to go Nick Holden. I mean, 2 apples like this. I feel like Nick Holden's had a couple multi-point games recently. So, although he's on the shutdown pair, he's able to chip in offensively, which you got to love. And game high in ice time, 25-15. That's got to be the first time that Holden's had the Sens top ice time, let alone game high. So you got to give a lot of credit to him, especially when the Sens put out a masterful defensive performance where the Sabres go an entire period without getting a shot. You got to assume that I would say he's their top shutdown guy, was a big part of that. So big shout out to Nick Holden. Safety first. I hope he gets the bike helmet.
Out of respect for our guest last week, Craig Medaglia, we have to respond to the Sabres going that long without a shot. Could someone in the analytics community please tell us if that is good?
So good.
Hits a little better after a win, eh, Martian?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was like probably all-time Craig Medaglia moment.
Oh, put it in the rafters.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely tastes better after a win.
No question about that. And good call, Pilsy. You got Nick Holden as your first Send Central standout in the chat. We've got our poll up. So if you haven't already, we got 50 votes so far. Go have your say. Who should get the bike helmet and shades? We know Nick Holden will make for electric content when the Senators tweet out the video. And he's leading the poll right now at 45%. Second place, Austin Watson. And I'm going to skip over the guy in third. My first Send Central standout tonight is Brady Tkachuk. The goal looks nice. Always hits the over in shots on goal. It's the lock of the absolute century at 7 tonight. Over 65% in the faceoff circle, and took 3, but went 2 of them. That's good. And not only did he have 3 hits, but he blew up Yoki Haru behind the net in the third period. Pillsy, one of my keys to victory. That top pair, a lot of skill when they have the puck on their stick, but you got to make them pay. At that point, it's a 1-goal game, and he certainly made sure his impact was known. You like how after he hits him, just skates away? He knows that Yoki Haru is going to come back and give him a little extra, and then when he does, Brady just looks at him. He's like, come on, buddy, you're not even worth my time.
Yeah, let's not do that. Hey, and Ross, if we're talking about our keys to victory panning out, my key to victory was win the face-off battle. 55% for the Sens, 45% for the Sabres. And how do you think you keep a team from getting shots? If you win a bunch of the face-offs and you control possession, that's a big way to help. So I think the face-off was a massive part here. We're not going to talk about Timmy's face-off night, but Nick Paul did take a big part of the assignment. And I'm just looking here quickly. 13 for 21, good for 62%. So not bad for taking 21 face-offs when the next highest was 10. So Nick Paul has had his work cut out for him, and he did a decent job. You got to respect that.
The broadcast accidentally read out Timmy's face-off numbers, but they're actually Nick Paul's in this one. Timmy goes 22%. Nick Paul goes 62%. I'm getting some good pushback, and we're happy with that. P. Hughes, if I have that properly, thinks Brady was awful. I thought he played a great game. I thought he led this team tonight and brought them into battle like he does pretty much every night. But maybe his stick handling not that great. A couple giveaways in this one, but in the second half especially, that hit really, to me, flipped the momentum even more so, because that was, I believe, after they finally had their shot and they were starting to generate that kind of last-minute push. So I thought he stood up well. He's my first guy, and I think we could probably go around the horn one more time just for a quick rapid fire here. Second round, it was a 3-1 win. There's lots to pick from. I feel like we've been scraping the bottom of the barrel a few of these losses, so let's live it up after a win.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, then in that case, I'm going to go with the best to ever lace him up, Tyler Ennis, playing against his old team. Probably a little bit of extra money on the board tonight. I thought he had a really good game. He was just doing his thing, a little jitterbug out there, dishing the puck, that really great feed to Sanford. And I'm telling you, man, if the last couple of games, he's been setting guys up on these 2-on-1 chances.
He really has been.
The last two have been Chris Tierney, and he wasn't able to bury like the really easy chance. Sanford tonight, very similar move to what Batherson did earlier in the season, what Goddard did the other night, except for instead of going to the backhand, he just curled it and toe dragged it right to the other side of the net there. So to be able to do a move like that, you got to get a good pass, and that's what Tyler Ennis provided him with there. And I really like Tyler Ennis's game again tonight, so I'm gonna go with him. My little jitterbug, best to lace him up, Tyler Ennis.
All right, let's do it snake style, Pilsy. I'm going to jump ahead of you after taking your lookout play today, too.
Snake. Yes, yeah.
No. It's coming back my way, or Pilsy's way.
We can't get lost in the snake here.
No, not this quickly. A 2-round knockout. Could you imagine? Goalie-friendly show. We spent some time talking about Craig Anderson. It takes great mental fortitude to go 22 minutes without a shot on goal and not allow one in that last push. Not that they had any grade A opportunities, but he made still 10 saves in that second period, and they didn't have a shot for half of it. So I think that speaks to Anton Forsberg being pretty solid here, especially early on in this game, and keeping it at a 1-goal lead for the Sabres through the end of the first period into the second. And how about on the PK too? I'm sure a lot of those shots, as I pull it up right now, 9 saves out of 10 shots when Ottawa was shorthanded. So I think that also is good to go as a Send Central standout tonight. Pilsy, we leave you one or what?
Oh yeah, I got one, and I'm glad you made that point about him on the penalty kill, because sure, the Sabres went flat at the end of the game, but he did have a lot of work when Brandstrom decided he was going to spend the night in the box instead of on the top line, on the top D pair. So great job by Forsberg. I agree with that. And I'm going to go with Sanford. All this guy had to do is get south of the border and he shows offensive flair. He doesn't want to be in Canada. He's showing it, right?
Did you hear that? I think it was 6 out of 8 of his goals this year are on the road.
On the road, yeah.
I need to
How many of them
down.
are in the States? Oh my god!
Exactly. Where he's comfortable and happy.
Yeah, but anyways, like that goal was so good because yes, I will agree with you, Martian. That pass sets up the goal beautifully, but you got to have that toe drag smooth, and there's not a lot of space there. And if Anderson decides to poke check you there, you're done. So I think it was a really smooth goal. Sanford needed a boost here. It had been a while since he scored a goal. So, and hey, trade deadline's coming up. I got to go with Sanford as my second Central standout.
1 goal on the road in Canada. He scored in the game in Edmonton. Everything else in the United States of America, including the hat trick in his hometown of Boston. And then he got the revenge game goal against Washington, I do believe, as well. I took that page down, but he got one against Washington, didn't he? Yes, he did, in the overtime loss on January 22nd. All right, so those are Sen Central standouts in tonight's game. Pilsy, your overall impression of this one. Now you hope that they can carry this through. So you win the season series 2-1 against Buffalo. And now all alone in 6th place in the Atlantic Division.
What a beautiful place to be. My overall impression is that the Sens played this game. Their structure really showed here, right? Like when you're a coach, no matter who your personnel is, you want to have a similar structure. You don't have your top goal scorer. You don't have your top point getter. You don't have your top defenseman. You don't have your starting goalie. Doesn't matter. Next man up. We have a system in place. Everyone on this team is accountable for knowing how to play that system and forechecking hard, back checking hard. Sure, it might have been a boring game, but there was a lot of pace and there was a lot of making sure the Sens had the puck on their stick and were moving it the right direction up the ice. So I just think if you're DJ Smith, this is one of those games that you're going to look back on and be like, hey, we were down and out. And sure, it's not like we were going up against the Colorado Avalanche here. It's the Buffalo Sabres. But still, you got to be proud for how your team played. And they were able to pull out that win and get a 3-1 victory. So that's a big one. And, you know, we love Andy, but it's nice that we didn't give him the satisfaction of getting closer to win number 300.
He was plus 1,400. I almost said 40 to get a shutout tonight. And midway through the second period, I was kicking myself for not jumping all over that.
I was thinking the same. Yep.
Yeah. Martian, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Pilsy just said. I think that was really well summarized there, Pilsy. The only thing I would probably tack onto that is, that's the way that they're going to win these games with the players out that they have. So that's the only chance that they have to win. So this is good practice for them for sure, being able to perform like that. And then the other thing I would say is, they're lucky to kind of win with the amount of penalties that they took in the first half of the game. They're lucky it was the Sabres who kind of have that minimal firepower, especially on the power play too. So I would say, they got it done. So there's no way you can possibly complain about that. So you got to be happy with the win.
Can't wait until the Sens get back in action, but the Senators also can't be given those opportunities on the power play to the Boston Bruins, who will add Patrice Bergeron from when they beat Ottawa last week. He's back from protocol, so we'll see what he does. We've got P Huge again. Appreciate you jumping in the chat, asking for Gus on the weekend. Now the Senators play back-to-back games, so what would you do looking ahead here? Of course, Murray's status a little bit up in the air. He did travel. I believe he traveled, but did not skate today. Anton Forsberg was on the ice. They'll head home, so maybe he didn't travel. That I shouldn't have said that. Not confirmed by any stretch, but I don't know how I would tackle the goaltending this weekend with or without Murray.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they're going to end up going with Gustafsson. I'd like to see him get back in the mix. I don't remember exactly when the last game he played was. I think it was January 20th.
Long time ago.
It was against the Penguins, I believe, was the last game that he had. So, I think he's due for another. It's almost a month from then since his last start in the NHL. I think we've kind of, pegged him and tagged him as the goalie of the future. So he should probably be getting, his starts mixed in. So I wouldn't be upset with that. And that's only if Matt Murray's unavailable, of course.
Yeah, otherwise you go Murray in one of the games, whichever one he would like.
The later game, probably. Give him as much time as he needs, So
that game, it's weird timing. It's a 5:00 game on Sunday, and then 7 o'clock on Saturday. So no afternoon games, I guess you could call it an early evening game against the New York Rangers on Sunday. But having that game on Saturday against Boston, that's not going to be an easy game by any stretch. Boston's going to need some wins. We'll get into more on Locked On Senators tomorrow and later on in the week. But go check out the standings. It looks good. Jumping over another team here for the Senators.
It feels good not being in the bottom 5 of the league for
It
the
does.
first time. And how long has it been, guys, right?
Look
like
at
all
us.
of last season, basically, almost this entire full season, the season before for sure. So, I mean, not being in the bottom 5, hooray.
To make it an Olympic reference, it's like we're celebrating making it through the qualifying to get to the finals. But there's 12 people in the finals, and we're probably finishing 10, 11, 12 in that. So we're not getting medals, but it still feels good to move on and feel good going into another day. And the Senators still with a winning record when we have the postcast on Locked On Senators. You can listen to Locked On Senators wherever you get your podcasts. And if you missed any of the postcasts live after each and every Senators game, they are free and available wherever you download your Locked On Senators podcast. A quick review of the game sheet tonight. 7 shots for Brady Tkachuk, 5 shots for Alex Formenton, and the team as a whole, 55% in the dot. The power play was 0 for 2. The PK was 5 for 6. The Senators outshot the Buffalo Sabres 28-24, and they got a 3-1 victory. Heading home for a few. We'll chat tomorrow on Locked On Senators for @Laleem's Martian and Brandon Pillar. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat here. Oh, we didn't actually get your final thoughts, Martian. Kind of did. You picked up off of Pilsy, but what's going on at the water cooler tomorrow? What are you telling everyone about this one?
Well, I'm going to let them know that I almost fell asleep in the first half of the game. But other than that, I was very happy with the overall outcome. I thought the Sens held in there really nicely. So good for them being able to, come away with the season series win against the Sabres. Suck on that, Arundel.
It's better than the alternative. All right, for @Laleem's Martian and Brandon Pillar, we've got enough Go Sens Go in the chats. Keep them rolling. We'll chat tomorrow on the show for the Locked On Senators podcast.